Hi, hello, how is everyone doing? Today I'm going to talk about menstruation and can women go to temples, do prayers during their menstrual cycle? Uh, is a menstrual process for women considered impure in Hindu culture? We're going to talk about this. First, let me talk about what menstruation is. I'm not going to talk about it in a very depth and detailed explanation about it. I'm going to give a short explanation of the topic. So basically, menstruation is your ovaries. Ovaries in the women shed egg every single month, and that egg, when it's not fertilized, it's then it then comes out in the form of blood, and that's called menstruation. Most of you might think, what's in it? Everybody knows it. But that's not actually true. A lot of people, they go through menstruation, but still they don't know what happens, why it happens. Even with all this education, this internet, and everything, they still don't know what happens. It's not just the men, it's the women too. So that's the reason I gave a short explanation of what it is. And that is a natural part of uh, a female body's life, a woman's life. Every woman between the age of 10 to 50 goes through it. Few years here and there, but still every woman goes through it. Some go through it every single month. Some, if they are very irregular, they go through it every other month or every few months, but still they go through it. But still, menstruation is considered a big taboo to talk. It's like it's considered secretive, it's considered shaming to talk about it, and that's not true. There is no life if a woman doesn't go through it. So why is it a shameful thing? Why is it such a taboo to talk about it? Why is it people are not having awareness to talk about it, to understand what it is, to explain and describe and tell your next generation women, like kids, girls, about it, even boys, because even they should know, because when they grow old they can take care of their moms or like see their sisters or wives go through it, and they can understand it, they can be supportive about it. There are a lot of men who do support their wives. There are a lot of boys and men who understand what their sisters and moms go through, and they see it and they understand. But at the same time, there are a lot of men who treat it as an impurity, treat it as a bad thing, treat it as if the woman is doing something, when in it's a natural thing. There is nothing she can do about it. It happens and she has to go through it. And you as a man, if you don't understand what it is, how are you going to support her during those days? All these things, when you don't talk about it, when you don't make people understand it, that's where a lot of young generation kids, even like older generation, basically women, a lot of them, some have a very supportive family, supportive male figures in their life, and they are happy in that way because they understand it and they support it and they take care of them. But there are men who don't understand at all what's going through a woman's life, women's body during those days, and they, instead of taking care of them, instead of understanding what they are going through, they torture them physically, mentally, abuse them. They treat it as if they did something wrong, and having that uh, in that month, during that month, is something bad, something not good for the house or not good for them. I don't know why this understanding is. And even women, like some women, even they go through it, but still they treat the other women in their families, whether it's daughter-in-laws or daughters or stepdaughters or siblings or sisters, cousins, whoever it is, they treat the other person as if it's something they shouldn't talk about, it's something they should suffer without talking about it, without expressing their emotions. But that's not true. A woman goes through a lot of pain during that time. She is mentally, physically irritable, angry, upset, mood swings, everything happen, not because she want to, but because what she's going through internally. And some people may say, Well, people are going to work, jobs, and people are going to schools and everything. So, how hard can it be? Why can't they bear it? But do you really think everybody is going because they have a choice? Given a choice, if they are told like every month you can take 5 days off, 3 days off, whatever, whenever you have, however long you have your menstrual cycle, you can take off and you get paid for it, and your school's gonna teach you after you come back. Do you think women would choose going to schools and jobs during that time? No, they don't. And how do you know that they are not in pain or anything? Just because they don't talk about that doesn't mean they are not in pain. And you don't know if they are like suffering through pain and going through work and going to schools, or if they're popping pills, painkillers, and they're going through the day. You never know it. You can't judge a person by how they behave or how they show, how they put up a face about it. So all this, if men or women or whoever it is, if you don't understand, if you don't have a full understanding, a full knowledge of what happens, what's going through, why certain things are said, why certain things are done, you can't explain it to the next generation, and you yourself won't be able to help the other person. So let's dive into what our Hindu culture talks about menstruation and this prayers, going to temples, why they say you should be away, you shouldn't be doing certain things during those days. Let's talk about it. So in Vedas, Rig Veda is the oldest Veda. That's the first Veda that's written, and that's written 4 to 5,000 years ago. In Rig Veda, there is no mention, no such thing about talking negatively or mentioning menstruation and not going, saying it's impure, nothing like that. That it's not said anything like that. But later in the years, maybe after looking at, maybe having some situations, some consideration, people have written in the some certain Puranas or certain Upanishads that women during those days shouldn't be going to temple. Women during those days shouldn't be doing prayers. Women during those days should be taking rest, and they should be in a separate and secluded place. When they say secluded, they didn't mean send them out of the village or send them out of the house. They meant give them, let them have a separate room, let them stay in their room, take care of themselves, give them complete rest, whether it's 3 days, 5 days, whatever it is, the time that they go through. And again, a lot of people think, okay, you're not supposed to do prayers, you're not supposed to go to the temple or anything for 5 days, 4 days, and the fifth day you can shower and just go to the temple or do prayers. That's not the case. You can't generalize everybody's menstrual cycle into 4 days or 5 days cycle. Some people may have a 3 day cycle, some people may have 5 days, some people may have 7 days. So you can't, the whole point of you telling, like, ancient people, like the ancestors telling us not to go to the temple, not to do prayers, and not to do offerings and take rest, is to give them the rest until the whole flow is done and until they are back to normal. So for that, it might take 3 days, 5 days, or 7 days. So don't generalize it and say, okay, after 4 days, just shower and go to temple, even if you have a flow. No, that's not the case. That's not what they meant. Some people, if they have only 3 days, and some people I know, they just have 2 days and they are fine, they're okay the next day. So those kind of people, if your flow is stopped in 2 days, third day shower, do your prayers, do your regular things, do go to temple and do everything. If it takes 4 days, then 4 days it is. If it takes 7 days, then 7 days it is. But until you are back to your normal state, take rest. Then after that, shower, cleanse yourself, and then go to prayer, go to temples, go do your prayers, offerings, and all. That's what our Hindu culture originally, that's the whole point and purpose of what they meant when they said give ladies rest, put them in a different room. They didn't say they are impure, they should be in a separate room, whatever, they shouldn't come out of the rooms. If they walk around the house, it should be cleansed completely because they touched everything. It's unhygiene, it's unhealthy. No, that's not what the whole point was. The whole point of this thing, letting women stay in a separate room, is to give rest to women. Why? Because forget about this generation, forget about this era, this modern life. When all this were created, it was like 3 4 thousand years ago. There were no sanitary pads back then. We don't even know if they have a cloth sanitization or what options they had. We don't know. So they might have, and we didn't have all this equipment, technology, and everything now that we have right now. Back then, the houses, there was no electricity. The houses were built different. So what they did is they said, like, you be in a secluded, in a different corner, put a banana leaf, sit on it. The reason they said banana leaf is it's easy to dispose. That's the good way to dispose any kind. We used to, that was treated like bedding, that was treated like plates back then, that was used for even covering up some, for some people. So that's the reason they said, like, sit on a banana leaf, sit on a corner, take rest. And since it was back then, it was all joint families, there were other women in the family, and they would take care of the rest of the family along with them. And the reason they said rest for women back then is, back then women did everything in the house, everything, the cooking, cleaning, washing, taking care of kids, everything. And the men did everything out of the house. So, and women share, because it was joint families, there are other women, they shared their responsibilities. Some took care of kids, some took care of cooking, some took care of cleaning, some took care of getting water, because not everybody has wells. They had to go to some river and get water, like, you don't know how many kilometers away it was. So all this, all the work women back then did were physically strenuous work. So when they said, you sit in a different place, sit in a corner, sit in a different room, they meant you take rest from all this. You take rest from all this physical work. Be yourself, do what you want to do, take rest. And once you're back normal, again, do the regular routine, whatever work you do. So that's the reason people back then said women are not supposed to do anything. They are supposed to sit in a corner or in a different room. They are not supposed to walk around. Why they said not supposed to walk around the house or go out to temples? Like I just said, we didn't know whether they had sanitary options or not. So if, how are you supposed to go to temples or go outside when you're going through a flow, when you're having something come out of you every few minutes, or sometimes like consistently, continuously? You might, it might happen anywhere and everywhere, and you might be cleaning everything. Instead, stay in one place. That was the whole point. But later, some people who want to dominate a certain gender, or dominate, be superior than one gender, or have some kind of power or something over the other person, they started creating all these rules, like, okay, women during that time are impure, they shouldn't even come to the temple, they are like, it's bad, not untouchable, this and that, whatnot. And they created this negative perspective of what menstruation and menstrual cycle for women is. Completely, like, they changed the whole meaning of it. So instead of going through that and understanding that, let's not just believe what people said, let's understand what the actual purpose and meaning of it is. So now let's talk about uh, why why we are not supposed to go to the temples, or why we are not supposed to do prayers and offerings, and why our ancestors said that. So before I talk this, if the video is very lengthy, I'm gonna split the video into two parts, and I'm gonna uh, um, post the other video later on. So let's understand why our ancestors told us not to go to temples or not to do pujas or prayers, and what's the reasoning behind it. So in our culture, in Hindu cultures, in Hindu temples, we do a lot of prayers, like a lot of chanting. We chant mantras, we sing a lot of bhajans, we use instruments, all this. The whole point of those are like to have concentration. What is said is like we have the seven chakras in our body, and each chakra from down bottom to up, aligning one on one, one after the other. And when it reaches the last chakra, you have this focus, you go into this trance when you are listening to those mantras, when you are chanting those mantras, or even listening to them, when you are listening to the songs, when you're chanting the songs, when you are listening to the music and all. So your body, your mind is taken, your mind and body are in a different trance. You get into that kind of high. Does everybody go through that? No, because not everybody is focusing. But the people who focus, who listen, who pray, who concentrate, that's what happens. So what they say is our energy flows from downwards to upwards. And what happens during menstruation is our energy or blood flows from upwards to downwards towards our pelvic area. So back then our ancestors told like, why go to the temple when you are conflicting, you have conflicting flow of energies in your body when you go to the temple? And why do you want your hormones to fluctuate, where your energies to one energy going up, one energy to going down, and having this conflict internally in your body when you are going through a lot of stuff during that time? You are irritable, you are uh, mentally disturbed, distracted, you're in pain, you get mood swings and all during that time. So why you put yourself into a situation where your body has to go through that kind of change? That's the whole point of why they said not to go to the temples. And the other side, and the other thing, just like what I said before, when there is no sanitary pads or any option to keep yourself hygiene, how are you going to go to a different place and stay there for long without anything happening, or without you making the place unhygiene? Because it's still bacteria, it still creates virus when things happen. So that's the point why not to go to the temples. But not like, okay, she is impure, she is not supposed to go. No, just because you are in that state and you go to the temple, you're not impuring anything. God created us, God created women this way, God created the situation, the menstruation cycle that she goes through. How is he or she gonna be impure when she's in the temple? But that's what the lack of understanding for people is. That's how small minded people became.